Stay with us because we actually have Marc Saggese calling in from Las Vegas. Let's bring him on defense counsel.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Hey, Marc. How are you?
I'm very good.
Well, thanks for being with us today. We know we had some big news on Friday. Can you, since there's any reports out there, can you just give us the straight and narrow, tell us what went down?
Well, the straight and narrow of it is on Friday we had a 7-hour negotiation in relation to this case to see if the case could be resolved before we picked a jury today. And I'm telling you guys, Craig, he really stepped up and said, I can't expose my wife to first-degree murder, and I won't, so I'll do what I have to do. And that's what we did.
Did this idea come up earlier? Was this something Craig had been considering for a while?
For the last 18 months, Craig always said he would be willing to accept responsibility and do whatever he has to do as long as Kelly didn't have any exposure. The state was never there. The state would never give an offer that was even remotely close. But they did on Friday.
And had you already picked a jury, Marc?
We had gone through jury questionnaires, and we narrowed 180 down to 85, so we were about halfway there.
Right. And can you tell us, is there a big difference between what's been reported in the media about this case and the actual facts as they exist?
Yeah, you know, guys, I'm not at liberty right now because the sentencing is on July 18th, and then we'll get into the nuts and bolts of what happened. But I will tell you this, it was defensible. The conduct that unfolded that night, December 13th, 2005, in a nutshell, without getting into the specifics, Craig Titus was certainly defending his wife, Kelly Ryan. And in an effort to defend Kelly Ryan, you know, things transpired without getting into the details. And in Nevada, we have a statute that says when a husband is defending a wife or a wife defending a husband or their children against any felony, it is justifiable. And it was quite justifiable. And here we had the risk of exposing Craig and Kelly to life without parole if we went to trial, versus Kelly getting potentially probation and Craig doing 15 years on the bottom with 2.5 years credit for time served. Keep in mind he'll be eligible for parole in 12.5 years. So we had to weigh these things, and even though the defense was there and I believed in Craig, and it's just one of those things that a defense attorney has to say, okay, do I go with my own strength and arrogance and confidence in my ability to convince a jury of what really happened and that it was justifiable? Or do I go with the sure thing, which assures both of these people will have good lives and resolve the case early? So it was a lot of tears, guys, a lot of crying, a lot of holding hands, and a lot of sadness during the 7-hour negotiation between Craig and Kelly. But when all was said and done, chivalry still exists and valor still exists, because Craig Titus said, I will do whatever I need to do. And the irony behind this negotiation is that it was Kelly who, right up until the last minute there, was refusing to accept. It was Kelly Ryan who didn't want Craig to do that. And it was Kelly who was saying, no, I would prefer to go to trial because I know what happened. And Craig, you know what happened, and we don't need to just accept this as is. But Craig stood his ground and said, honey, I couldn't live with myself if we stood up when the verdict came back. I couldn't live with myself if they said we find Kelly Ryan guilty of first-degree murder, and knowing that you would die in jail, I couldn't live with myself, and I don't even want to face that possibility, and I'm taking away that possibility by doing this. And again, a lot of tears and a lot of sadness, but the deal was struck. And in reality, for Craig, second-degree murder with no use is a 10 to 25-year sentence in the state of Nevada, and it's actually a good resolution for everybody.
Marc, can you just briefly go over the sentencing guidelines and how that actually plays out in Nevada?
Well, in Nevada, what we agreed to, Nevada first-degree kidnapping is a 5 to 25, and ultimately we agreed to the first-degree kidnapping on top of the second-degree murder with no use of a deadly weapon, just second-degree murder, which is a heat of passion killing, that's a 10 to 25 years. So we agreed to the 2 to reach 15, which the state was comfortable with 15. Now the wild card is the arson charge. That's a 2 to something. And the 2 years can either be run concurrent or consecutive. And it's up to the judge. So we don't know exactly if Craig's going to get 15 years on the bottom or 17. But the sentencing standards here in Nevada will give him credit for the 2.5 years he's been in, and we'll see if it's going to be 15 years or 17. Now, if it's 15 years, he gets 2.5 years credit for time served, and he will be eligible for parole in 12.5 years. And hopefully, Craig is a good guy, and he's going to be a model inmate. He's probably going to be a trustee and given extra responsibilities, and that's just how he is. So he'll probably, hopefully, make first parole. And Kelly's sentence is probationable, meaning she is eligible for probation, but in discussions with the state, it's more likely than not that the judge will give her an additional couple extra years on top of the 2.5 years she's already served. So we're hoping that Kelly will be released in just a couple of years.
Mark, the arson charge, it's first-degree arson. If I'm reading from the statute, it says a person who willfully and maliciously sets fire to or burns or causes to be burned or aids, counsels, or procures the burning of any. And then the choices are dwelling, house, other structure, mobile home, whether occupied or vacant, or 2, personal property which is occupied by 1 or more persons.
Right.
Does that implicate or does that imply that Melissa was alleged to be alive at the time she was in the vehicle, or does it not make a difference when it says persons, whether that person was alive or deceased? Right.
Now, I'll explain that. It's a good point that you bring up, because first-degree arson was not the original charge. I've been with Craig Titus for, a couple of years. It's always been third-degree arson. And if you look at the third-degree arson statute, that more closely matches what they accused him of. Now, in this instance, what we did was we amended the complaint pursuant to the negotiations from third to first, and we waived the defects in the third, changing it from third to first, because they really don't fit a first. But we waived that defect in order to get the amount of years associated with the offense, which is a 2 to something, because third degree is a 1 to something. So it was just for purposes of settlement that they amended the third-degree arson in the original complaint from 2005 to first, so that they could enter a plea and achieve the number of years that all parties agreed to.
Right. Now, when you said you were in the 7-hour negotiation with the DA's office or prosecutor's office, were Craig and Kelly present, and were they present for any other negotiations?
Yeah, they were present every minute of 7 hours. They were pivotal. They were the keys. Everything that was discussed in their presence. They were allowed to talk to each other at length. We were in the same room, and it all took place with them. I mean, like I said, every minute of it. My partner Cristalli and myself, we spoke to him together. We spoke to him separately. We allowed the district attorney to speak to both of them to their face in the same room, and engage in that type of dialogue between each other. Since this has been going on, there's been animosity between Mr. Titus and the DAs, because, you have to understand, Mr. Titus looks at the DAs as people are trying to just destroy his life and take his freedom away and ruin his wife's life. And so there was animosity there. And I think it was important that they met and humanized each other and had a rapport and could understand each other's position. And I think that's what a lot of the beginning of the discussions were, with the DA taking an opportunity to explain that it wasn't anger and it wasn't personal, and he didn't hate Craig and he wasn't trying to destroy Craig, but they had a belief about what happened. And then Craig took an opportunity to apologize and say, he's been angry and ornery in regard to the DA's office, but that's just because he believed that they were after him, and it was personal. So with all of that aside, and after everybody was on the same page in relation to their responsibilities in this case, Craig knew that he was the deciding factor between Kelly's liberty or her dying in jail. And I sat with my client, and through a lot of tears and a lot of sadness and a lot of sobbing, he agreed that he would rather do 12 and a half years in jail or 14, 15 years, whatever he's got to do, than live with the fact that, him being a stalwart and not budging allowed his wife and exposed his wife to first-degree murder, which would have been life without parole.
Wow.
I mean, it really was.
Ever heard.
It really was an unbelievably amazing thing to witness. And, I'm a criminal defense attorney. I've seen it all, like chopped up about it, you crazy, the way they interact, the defendants, their instability or their stability. Everyone's got their own disposition. And it was a real unique experience for me to sit there between a husband and a wife who were crying and making this decision. It was the rarest of instances. I'll probably never experience anything like it again. And I saw in Craig's eyes when he made that final decision that he would do anything he had to do to protect his wife. I saw a unique characteristic of a man that I may never see again. It really was uncommon valor. And, it's over, and I have no reason to boast and, help Craig. It's just the truth. And it really was a beautiful thing to see it happen that way. And hopefully, we can all look and say, okay, justice was done to the extent that everyone is satisfied with the result.
Right. Well, Marc, really appreciate you coming on. I know you're very busy, and I know there's a lot of things you can't talk about yet. Would we be lucky to have you back, and would you be willing to come back after sentencing and talk to us again?
I am. You guys give me a call when the time is right. Sentencing is 9 a.m. on July 18th. Post-sentencing, I'd be happy to talk to you again. Craig Titus is a well-known figure, and there's a lot of curiosity. And if I could make everybody know what is really happening and help people understand the truth versus, the salacious news story or the 10-second blip you get on Fox News, if I could really help your listening audience understand what really happened and what is really happening, I'd be honored to.
Thank you so much, Marc.
Okay, guys. Take care.
Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks.